Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So, what are we doing today? What am I doing today? Today's video is going to be kind of like a half sketchbook doodles video and then half kind of just watercolor painting in general because I was like, how to explain this? I scrapped the footage of what I was drawing from I think 2 nights ago and I didn't like it, so I decided to refilm, but I had the urge to paint something instead. So I am kind of doing a test run in my sketchbook. This looks nothing like the final, but I'll get into the reason why and you might be able to tell from the title of the video. I bought like 5 watercolors from Jetpens recently and they arrived like maybe like a week ago, and I wanted to do kind of like a test but also do maybe kind of like a 5 color challenge. So I wanted to test them out before I start painting with them, and looking at the colors, like I thought I could paint Kaida Haru, who is a VTuber, and it's a VTuber that like I've been watching more frequently now. I've only like watched him like maybe every so often or whatever, but like I feel like more recently I always put his streams in the background whenever I'm doing stuff because he has so many like music streams. Okay, but before I get into like off topic, let's talk about what I'm doing exactly. So in my sketchbook I am drawing him just really quickly because I just did a sketch with my Prismacolor Colerase in Carmine red, and then I'm using a ballpoint pen to quickly do kind of like a line art before I start painting. Now I'm doing this because I don't want to add lines afterwards, and I don't really want to like use gouache or anything after, so to make it look a little bit more finished I am doing the lines beforehand, which I usually don't do because I usually hate doing line art this way, and I usually don't like painting in this method because I hate being restricted by the lines. But yeah, so in order to test the colors, now I actually did a test in the sketchbook earlier. I just did quick swatches and quick like mixes, so you guys are gonna see that I'm using this kind of like I don't know how to explain this, disposable painting palette that I've had from like my uni days where I used to do oil painting and acrylic painting. So I had like a couple of sheets left, so I thought I could just whip it out, and apparently I used this same exact sheet. You can see the pink and the purple at the top from when I bought paints back in Japan, and I did like the 4 color challenge back then, I believe. Now to be honest, I feel like more than 3 colors in watercolor technically isn't a challenge. Maybe that's just like my personal belief because of the vast range you can get with just 3 colors, but I feel like if you choose 3 colors of your preference, like you know what you're gonna mix, let's say you're like your primaries or whatever, then I feel like it's a little bit easier. But I did pick 4 of these at random, or not random per se, it's just colors that I wanted to test out, and luckily 3 of them kind of fall into like almost like the primary colors, though I lack a lot of value in terms of the different colors that I chose other than the Prussian Blue. So Prussian Blue was kind of like the color that I knew I was gonna buy for sure because I needed a refill for my palette, and another paint that I wanted to refill was no longer available on their website, so I decided to pick up the Jaune Brilliant number 1, and I initially wanted Jaune Brilliant number 2, which is kind of more like a pale peach color that's a little bit darker than the number 1 version that I currently have, and it's just like a easier way for me to mix a skin tone or to mix like beige colors more easily. So a lot of the colors that I chose today or like chose to buy on Jetpens are on the lighter side just because I wanted an easier way to mix certain colors, and like these colors that I chose are purely for like they're not a necessity for your watercolor palette. Prussian Blue on the other hand, I could argue like can be a very helpful and useful color just in color mixing in general, like regardless if you're using watercolor. I think it's quite useful when doing like acrylic painting and oil painting as well, or at least like from my experience, because we were taught to always mix our blacks instead of using black straight from the tube, so I use Prussian Blue a lot. So yeah, for Oh, okay, so for that section, you can see I quickly painted him and kind of planned out the colors that I wanted to use. Now this is where I realized I was not going to get the same result that I wanted to exactly. I think for the most part I could color match quite well for most of Kaida Haru's like outfit or his hair color, and the skin I could probably manage, though it might be quite pale or quite pink. But the problem I was going to have is I'm not going to be able to mix a dark enough color for his jacket, because the only dark color I have is Prussian Blue. You could argue that Opera is kind of like more of a mid-tone, and then the other three are quite light in color. So, and they have a lot of white, I believe, in the mixture of the paint. So those three come off quite opaque. If you use it quite thickly, like it will overlap your lines and stuff. So I had to use it a little bit more sparingly. So as you can see, I did transfer my sketch via the light pad just to make sure that my lines are clean and that I don't erase too much on my paper. So the paper I'm using I will have listed on the screen. I will also I'll have everything listed in the description, as well as little flags at the top so you'll know. Mixing the skin tone, I did mostly use the Jaune Brilliant number 1. To warm it up a little bit, I did use Opera, and to kind of mute it, I did use Horizon Blue a little bit, because sometimes I add blue towards the skin tone just to make sure it doesn't come off too bright sometimes. But in this case, I think I also used a little bit of the Composed Green to mute it a little bit, because it was leaning too much in the red, so I was trying to neutralize it a little bit with the green rather than the blue, or it'll come off too purple. But you can see that with the colors that I had, you could get like quite a big range of colors that you could mix, regardless of, or not regardless of, is just that you don't get a whole range of value, because the only thing that's gonna darken my paint is such a highly pigmented blue, and it's overpowering. So like sometimes if I wanted to make a dark green, it's gonna be hard for me, because it's gonna be majority like pushed towards the blue color rather than any other color. But I feel like it's nice to experiment with minimal colors if you can, just because it kind of helps you learn how to mix certain colors. But yeah, skin was fairly straightforward, as you can see, because of the color range that I did have. And yeah, I wasn't able to get like such a bright yellow for the golds of his outfit, because the Jaune Brilliant is quite like pastel in itself, and in order to get some darker tones, I did mix it a little bit with Opera and a little bit of Composed Green, but mostly I mixed it with Opera. I feel like I've become like so sidetracked. What was I talking about? Oh, the brushes. So, or I wanted to talk about the brushes. So for the brushes, I did buy 3 new brushes, and I only end up using 2, but for the most part, I end up only using this specific one, the one with the brown barrel. That is the Raphael Kolinsky imitation, like sable hair or something like that. It is a replacement for my Raphael Kolinsky, I don't really remember, the number 6 brush that I usually use, because I've beaten it up to the point where the point doesn't stay. So I have this brush now, and the point on this brush is so beautiful, and I feel like it kind of brings back the joy of painting for me. I feel like I've been fighting with my brush a little bit too much, and I feel like that's something like people say like you should use the tools that you have, and I do agree with that. It's just that at some point, when you become too accustomed with working in a certain way, sometimes replacing your equipment helps, because you don't have to fight against something that maybe you're not used to. So for me, I was used to having the brush at a sharp point, and partially it's because like I have bad habits of me being lazy and not just switching brushes. But I was able to do like bigger washes and all my blending and all my line art with one brush, and I kind of can go back to that state with this brush again. So it's kind of nice to be able to have that opportunity to buy new brushes again. But yeah, but this one didn't like make me break my bank or anything, because I think it's because of the imitation hairs that it has. It's a lot cheaper. But I don't really remember what was the price it was in when I bought it in Japan. I'm pretty sure it was like $20 to $30 in Japan, like converted back to Canadian, but this one was like only $6, I think, $6 or $7, so it was much cheaper. This one is kind of like a, oh, I don't really remember what it's called. There's like a certain name, like a Fude pen or something like that, and it's really good for like not calligraphy, like fine lines, like script, like a script brush. But yeah, it doesn't hold too much water, thus why I kind of switched back to the other brush later. I think if I was able to load it up with ink, it could probably flow a lot nicer, but I was getting a little bit too fed up because maybe it was the texture of the paper alongside with the brush. It was just not creating such smooth lines, so I switched back to this brush to create the smooth lines that I like to do. If you're unfamiliar with the way I paint, I usually do my sketch in pencil and then paint everything and then do the line art with watercolor at the end, just to create more of a softer look, but also just my preference of not liking to have to stay within the confined lines of line art because it feels too much like a coloring book to me. I feel like in certain situations it's good to have line art established like beforehand. Maybe if you have like super amounts of like detail, or maybe like inking is very like it's supposed to be very present in your piece, then I would highly recommend doing that before you paint. But because I kind of want to focus on blending and colors and kind of, I didn't do it in this piece, but I would like to mingle the colors a little bit more next time, and it's easier for me to do that. There's not like a solid line kind of defining two different areas. But yeah, I had a lot of fun painting him. I just really like his singing voice, and his personality is really cute. So I think he's my favorite VTuber to watch. I also like watching Oga quite a bit, but yeah, he's also very handsome. Like his design's very pretty in my opinion. He has some similarities to why I probably like, or why I kind of designed Masaki the way I designed Masaki. So kind of like longer bangs, kind of like parted, almost like 2/8 where his part is, kind of like wispier hair, giant ahoge, earring. So yeah, and kind of like his clothing attire, if you've seen his winter outfit, I really love that outfit. So maybe I'll draw some more fan art of him in the future and kind of do something a little bit more exciting in terms of like maybe the pose and stuff. Because I was reading up on like his wiki and stuff, because I don't know Japanese, I can't read Japanese, so it's like I'm not able to understand what's going on in chat or what he's saying. All I know is that like he says something at the beginning of his stream and at the end of his stream, and I didn't really know what he was saying, so I searched it up, and I think it's really cute that it's like the people in kind of like the waiting room of their chat room kind of say like, is it like, I wonder if today's gonna be sunny, and then when he appears everyone's like, oh, it's sunny out today or something like that. It's something really cute. I don't know, I just really like the lore behind his character, and I don't know, am I gushing too much? But yeah, I had a lot of fun painting him. I feel like I usually don't use such pastel colors when I paint. I really like to go ham with pushing the values if I can, or I get oddly stuck in kind of like the mid-tone area. So I feel like me painting him like this was a good experiment for me to learn that I actually really like using these lighter washes, especially like in the green and gold. I think look really pretty with like it fading downwards. Looks really pretty. And me trying to neutralize and mix my Prussian blue to make sure it reads more like black rather than too blue was a little bit of an ordeal, but I think it reads well. I did add a little bit of a border, had some regrets about adding the petals too concentrated around him, so I am deciding to rip off the green tape border. I am going to extend his body downwards, and I'm going to break the border by adding the petals outside of where I have the initial rectangle that I taped off. And you can see me struggling with the tape, and you can see that my tape kind of ripped up some of the paper fibers, so painting the bottom part's going to be a little bit difficult to match it, but because the colors are so light, it wasn't too bad for me to color match everything. I'm just quickly refilling paint because I used all of my opera and the little swatch of Jaune Brilliant #1, And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I know, as usual, I kind of just rambled and like it's just continuous talking about one thing and then another thing, but hope you guys enjoyed watching today's video. And I feel like it's been a while since I've done like a watercolor painting here. I definitely am planning to paint ball quite soon. I'm still in the planning phase, but I would like to continue kind of like the Archon waist ups, kind of half body. I don't really remember. I did Venti and Zhongli earlier, and they kind of have more of a Alphonse Mucha kind of look to it with like the flowers and like the borders and stuff. But I feel like I wanted to approach hers more how I usually paint and not doing line art in the beginning. I don't really care if they don't really match, but I feel like I want to do ball justice because I think her color scheme will look really pretty, and I'm kind of glad that I picked up the opera color because I think it'll come in quite handy when I'm painting her piece. But yeah, I'm breaking the border a little bit. And I think I color matched it quite well to the bottom so that you don't see a horizontal line. I think there's a little bit of some areas that you can see it, but I think I did an okay job. Hope you guys enjoyed watching today's video. I'll talk to you guys next time with another video, hopefully, and hopefully do watercoloring videos again soon. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye!